Welcome one and welcome all. We are live on BerryFlow Upstream number 67. This one is entitled Requiem. And if you want to know why, look up the word, maybe piece 1 and 2 together. You might figure that out. But I'm here with an awesome cast. We got some of our regulars here. Blaze, editor-in-chief at crackberry.com. How you doing, Chris?
Oh, I'm doing all right, actually.
Oh,
Excellent.
that's good.
Right, no pessimism this time.
Yeah, man.
Blaze is like, we're just getting started. Don't hold me to that yet.
Yeah. Let's get it on the go here, and then we'll see what happens.
As well with us, we have Alex Bass of Cyberbytes Inc. How are you doing, Alex?
Pretty good, pretty good. You know, I'm actually in a good mood today, so let's try and keep it there.
This is the perfect way to ruin a Sunday. We also have on the cast with us Brandon. He is coming in remote from a Surface Pro. How you doing, Brandon?
How's it going, guys? Doing pretty well. Can't complain. I don't know why you mentioned Surface Pro. It's not like I'm getting sponsored for that. So
We're making zero off that Microsoft mention. No, but Brandon, it's good to have you back, man. I know you've been kind of on a hiatus. You've been working, doing your refereeing, so it's good to have you back, man.
yeah, it's been super busy. I wish I could have been on more often, but life just throws you curveballs.
And by curveballs, he means the news has been so boring that not worth coming on. So I'm glad something's piqued your interest here to get you back on air. Well, let's get started, guys. Let's talk about BlackBerry slider color preferences. I think that's a really big piece here. We just put out a post on Crackberry as a guest post, so thank you, Blaze, for letting us do that. Really hit a large audience. About 5,000 people voted on different color renders that were done by our graphic artist, Mr. Marco Miranda at Pooter Mobile. The device renders just look awesome. Definitely check out the Crackberry post if you're interested in seeing the colors. We did silver, black, red, blue, white, and purple. And I want to hear first, before we go into the full results, which ones you guys individually voted for, if you voted at all. Alex, what was your favorite color?
I'm not a difficult man. I kind of didn't mind the black and maybe the red. I'm gonna have to look at them again because when I first saw them, I was really leaning towards just going with the black. I kind of want to just have the nostalgic, black BlackBerry. But, I don't know.
All right, while you're flip-flopping, Brandon, what about you on some of the colors? What
I
are some of
actually
your
really
favorites?
like the blue. It's got
Yeah.
that BerryFlow blue. It looked it was kind of one of those things. You know how the LE edition for the Passport, the red for the Z10 and Passport and all that stuff, that catches the eye. But now I'm kind of getting used to that red tone for BlackBerry devices, so I think a blue like that would kind of, get people wondering again. Because really out there, other than those Nokia phones that Microsoft used to have that were multicolored, you really don't have, anything other than, there's some phones that are still red out there, black and white and silver, but you don't really have a blue out there. And I don't know if well, that's probably just because there isn't that much demand. Maybe I'm just crazy, but I think it would catch a lot of people's eyes, and I like the way it looks.
Honestly though, like that shade of blue, when I kind of look at it, it reminds me of like a kind of cheapness a little bit because I imagine like the 5Cs, like these pastel kind of colors, and that's like I don't know, it feels a little bit cheap to me in some way.
If you've ever seen the actual blue iPhone, it's not as pastel. It's actually a lot like more blue and candy looking than the powdered blue. But I can definitely see where you're coming. A lot of these colors, when you put them on these high-end looking devices, it kind of does cheapen them in a way. And as to Brandon's point, I have my red Passport here. I know Chris has moved on to his SE, but I am getting kind of a little bit just like muted by it at this point, where I look at it and it doesn't have that same pop that it used to have. So just a different variation. I personally, just like Brandon, also voted for the blue. I really like the powder blue, and just the only maybe tweak I might have put was maybe put black lettering instead of white lettering on the light blue device, and maybe it will stand out a little bit better. But Blaze, which one did you vote for?
I went with the silver. Maybe that's mainly just because of the fact that I'm using a silver device now, but I really like the silver one. I also really like the which was it? The blue one as well because, like you said, that blue hasn't really been used a lot lately, and I remember when like Brandon said when AT&T and all them were putting out the Nokia Windows Phone devices. The cyan blue that they put out was really, really hot looking at the time, and I like that blue on there. I especially like the fact that it's not entirely all blue, you know what I mean, because the bezel and the edges and stuff like that are still black, but the keyboard itself and the bottom piece where the speaker is that nice baby, I guess you could say baby or powder blue color. I really like that one. Unfortunately, I don't think that we'll actually see that one, but you know.
I think you just want the SE Silver Edition so you can say that you have a Priv SE.
You're on to me. Damn it.
Someone go buy the pin now. VB Priv SE.
Yeah.
No, don't.
Actually, don't do that. Chris already bought it, guys. Sorry. But there was 5,000 votes on the poll, over 5,000 votes on the poll. Silver came in at 24%. It got the most votes, followed very closely by Alex's favorite, the Black Edition. Shortly there following, we had the red at 20%, the blue at 13%, and then white and purple bringing in the tail end there.
Can I just say I'm actually surprised that 405 people voted for the purple?
Right. That's exactly where I was going to go with it. I was like, white versus purple? Like, we're going to get a white phone, right? We're going to get a white Priv, yet the purple one almost got as many votes. That's pretty amusing. Personally, I really like the devices, guys. I think if BlackBerry were to really nail in on some of these color options and do it from the jump, I really hate when you have to wait, right? Because I'm going to buy the first thing I can get my hands on, right? So if the first thing I can get my hands on is a black one, that's what I'm probably going to go for. But I would like a couple options.
That would be a good move for them to actually just go ahead and launch two colors all at the same time. That way people can buy whatever they want. I know what the obvious thing is you hook people into buying a black one and then all of a sudden they want the white one, but you know, just go ahead and make both of them available at the same time. That would be great.
Is it bad to think in any type of way they have all these Android devices that you can get like totally custom to what you want. You can get whatever colors and very custom. Part of me, like, I don't even like that if that option was available because I would probably want to do something crazy, but then I worry about like resale value. I'd have to find someone who very specifically wants the custom type of phone that I have. Yeah. So I almost rather not have the option in a stupid consumer way that doesn't even totally make sense. I kind of like having just two variants, maybe a third one.
You know what? It's funny is that now people have watches, nice watches for when they go out to formal events and things like that. And I think people now they want to kind of extend that type of customizability to their smartphone, so that they can have one device that they can, change the exterior to be both a formal exterior as well as something a bit more casual, a bit more rugged that they can use for everyday life. And it'll be interesting if we see a company. I know Google's got with their own Nexus devices, they let you customize the exterior when you order it. But it'd be interesting to see if a company in the future ends up, creating interchangeable exterior portions for their devices to allow people to choose between, for instance, an aftermarket Porsche exterior that they can spend, $100 to purchase, and that gives them a more formal look for their device. And then they've got the regular casual exterior.
Well, in a nod to that, when I went to my cousin's wedding, I opted to go for bringing my white passport instead of my red passport because it was a wedding, right? I was like, I didn't want to bring my red one.
Steal the show.
Yeah, I brought my white one, so I fit in a little bit more, right?
That's so bougie of you.
I know.
Let me swap colors.
I'm not even gonna lie. It was pretty sad that I thought about that at the time. Like that was one of my main priorities, but I wasn't part of the wedding or anything, so it was like my only thing that I had going for me at the time.
Crackberry and chief problems, man. There's people out there starving, and Chris is here choosing different colors for his passport. So.
They don't match my shoes. I got to go back to the house.
And the thing
he starts with the original, swaps over to the AT&T.
And the thing too is that I know there's going to be people who are going to comment after this podcast and be like, "Well, you can get like a nice case or something to put on your device."
Skin.
No, it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
If you go to a formal event and you have like a case on your device, it doesn't look professional half the time. Um, that personally me, based on like formal events I've gone to, if you have a case on your device, it just doesn't look as nice as other people who don't have cases on their device.
So, Brandon, now that you're on, right, and I know now the device has actually been released and talked about this Priv, give us a recount of your Toronto experience. We all saw the photo that you snagged of the gentleman walking with his Priv device, but where were you? How'd you get there? Tell us about the experience for you. A lot of people were wondering, was the device that you took a photo of, was that in some kind of case? If it was, what did it look like? Give us some of that feedback.
Okay, so it was pretty interesting because I was just talking to my girlfriend. We were lining up to go see The Martian, and there was this group of 6 people in front of me, and I saw this one guy. He had a BlackBerry device. The top kind of reminded me of a passport. So I'm like, oh, it looks like he has like a passport there. And so my girlfriend was talking to me, and all of a sudden she could tell my face was just like zoned in on this one guy, and like I should have taken a picture right then and taken a video because he was just using it out right there in front of me. But I was so excited, I just went straight to him. I'm like, "Is that the BlackBerry Venice?" And he had like such a scared look on his face, like he saw a ghost because I guess he didn't expect anybody to actually, I don't know, care about the new BlackBerry device just because generally it's not that big of a group of people that know about it, right? So then when I told him that, he just got all freaked out and he like closed the device, put it in his pocket. He's like, "Oh man, like it is," and I'm like, "Can I see it? Is it using like Android?" He's like, "I can't say anything, even though like I really want to because you're probably the only person in this line who like got it." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, like I work for BerryFlow. Like I went about the like
The total wrong way.
I should have gone about it, right?" But I was just like honestly, I became like a little kid, like super excited about it. I'm like, "Come on, man, like it's like just let me just tell me, is it Android or not?" He's like, "Yeah, it's Android." And so anyways, and then like I was like, "Yo, look, I have my like Z10 LE, like I'm a developer. I develop apps for BlackBerry 10. Show me some love." And he's like, "Man, I wish I could." But anyway, so what happened was that he put it away, and then what I didn't realize is that the other 5 people in his group all had BlackBerry Privs, and they were all like chuckling between each other because they must have been working for like BlackBerry or something because they I realized
You think?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
noticing that I had the BlackBerry, the Z10 LE, and they're like, "Oh, this guy." Like, and the one guy's like, "Oh, he has a red like Z10," and the guy's like, "Yeah, that means he's like a developer. He was like one of the first developers for BlackBerry 10 and got it, right?" And so the one guy noticed he had like this case. It's similar to the Z10 case where the back is kind of attached, and it's got that front fold in the front made out of leather. Are you guys familiar with that case?
Yeah.
So it was kind of like that, but the cool thing was that when you closed it, it actually worked kind of. If you're familiar with the case for the Samsung Note, where it changes the time in the front, so you can see easily the time in your notifications and stuff like that. When you closed it, it actually changed the screen in front to show that information there.
It's funny because after you posted up your picture, there was another guy who caught one out in the wild with it actually having the case on it, and that's exactly what he described as well. It was like, it's kind of like the Samsung case. When you close it, you can still access some of the functions directly through the hole in the front or whatever, right?
Exactly.
And everybody was like, "Oh, no, you just basically saw a Samsung device, you're mistaken." And it's like, "No, dude, I saw what I saw, okay?"
And then I went, so then after when I noticed that, we were like, the line started moving to go into the theater, and like I went full on stalker mode and started just like sticking my hand out, like just like fucking like acting like I was just texting but taking pictures of the guy in front of me. Picture.
Bravo.
My girlfriend
Bravo,
was
Brandon.
so embarrassed, but I was like, "You know what? Let me have this. Like, you have your own vices. This is my vice." So
So that's a very interesting story, Brandon. I think it's a good learning lesson for you. You see these unreleased devices, just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah,
Do what you gotta do.
Don't say anything. Just start taking pictures and video, okay?
You gotta go all James Bond in the future. Take pictures, ask questions later.
Exactly. You have the ability to shoot to kill, so you are licensed
But
to
I mean,
do
like,
so.
you gotta think about that. Like, what are the odds? Like, and it's like it was like about like 1,200 people in this line. Like, what are the odds that me, probably like one of like maybe potentially 3 people on that line who like know about this device? Because like there's lots of BlackBerry fans, like in general, but a lot of people they're not constantly checking CrackBerry or M4BB or BerryFlow and stuff like that, and they might not know about the Venice and stuff or the Priv now, you know. And so like the odds of me like just like happening to be standing right behind them is just, you know,
It's pretty slim to none, man. And then you actually referring to the device as the code name. You probably like spooked the shit right out of him.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, what? I gotta go.
No, wait, what happened was he saw Brandon and he's like, oh crap, that dude from Upstream, no. It's pretty funny, Brandon. I'm glad you were able to get a good picture. That's what blew my mind about it. What phone did you take that photo with? Your Z10?
Surprisingly, it was my Z10 because my passport was
Wow.
getting fixed and I haven't changed back yet. And so I was like, you know what? Like I like the red design on my LE because when I got it, I only really got it for a month before I got my Z30, so I never really got to use it. So I was taking this as kind of an excuse to use it for a bit more. And yeah, I was surprised at how well the picture showed up with my Z10.
Me too. I would have sworn there was actually at least taken with the passport. So
Yeah.
Wow, that's 10.3.2 for you guys. There it is. So I want to move on. Let's talk about the big news of the week, right? This is BlackBerry's fiscal Q2 2016 earnings.
oh, that's the big news, is it?
That's the big news because in this earnings call, he did the exact opposite, right? In this earnings call, John Chen actually announced the device and announced a plans and a roadmap. But let's talk about some of the numbers, right? Let's look into some of the financials for the company, see where they are, and where they're going.
Who cares about those?
I care. Look, we're looking at sequential growth in the software business, and that's important for BlackBerry. That's where they're staking their future. We're seeing growth driven 33% on software licensing revenue. This is without a major cross-licensing deal like the one they had from Cisco. So again, really important for them. Most of this is really organic growth for them right now, and it's positive to see. John Chen even mentioned this is not even really counting EasyPass. EasyPass may have been something to start getting people over, but this revenue is really coming from them on their own initiatives, which is pretty positive. They've got free cash flow of $100 million in the quarter, and as well, cash equivalents jumped up to $3.3 billion. It's pretty awesome, even with the acquisitions that they've made under M&A. We're really looking at a low number of BlackBerry devices being sold, 800,000, down from I think 1.1 million the quarter previous. That's not a lot, guys. That's really not a lot. So these moves for Android almost make even more sense for the timing. As the device sales continue to slip down, they need to do something to revitalize. So what do you guys think about how John Chen laid this out? Because I think it was very, very poorly written. The specific wording in the press release, because the first thing I saw was like JT over at N4BB tweeting, you know, you're gonna have the choice of OS and all this stuff, and I hit him up. I'm like, you know, I probably think this is just poorly worded. The way it was kind of announced is at the same time they're working, and Android is going to be a choice of OS for us, but not necessarily a choice on a BlackBerry 10 device. What do you guys think about Priv? This was also a name that leaked prior to the earnings, and John Chen took the time to come out and say, yes, we're confirming this Android phone, and we are confirming the name Priv under the nomenclature of privacy and privilege. What do you guys think of the name and as well how it was announced?
I think my thoughts on the name are pretty damn clear.
At first, I was like, you know, it seems like a really dumb name, but then I thought to myself, and I'm like, what other device has a really dumb name? Oh, yeah, the iPhone 6 Plus. Like, So I don't think the Priv's any dumber than that name. I think it's actually marginally better than that name. So I think it's gonna get a lot of people's attention when you say the Priv. People are gonna be like, "Oh, that's a weird name," and then it'll get people to think about it. So it's not necessarily a flashy name like that, but it's the type of name that when you tell somebody, "Oh, this is the BlackBerry Priv," they'll be like, "What, Priv?" And then after you repeat it again, it's one of those names that people, once they hear it, they're gonna remember it.
You know what though? I really feel that when people ask me what kind of phone I have, I don't say, "Oh, I have the BlackBerry Z30." I'd say it's a BlackBerry. And it's like I don't really feel like someone's gonna, if they see me on my phone, I'm sliding up and down or whatever, and they ask me what kind of phone it is, I'll probably just say, "Oh, it's a BlackBerry," and I'll show them like the sliding mechanism and things. Like I don't necessarily think that most people, like, "Oh, what phone do you have?" "Oh, I have an iPhone." Normally people don't necessarily say, "Oh, I have the iPhone, 4S," or, "Oh, I have an Android device." They normally say, "I have a Galaxy." They don't really say, "Oh, I have a Galaxy Note 5." Some do, but you could kind of get away with just saying the manufacturer of it: BlackBerry, Galaxy, iPhone, Apple iPhone, whatever.
I got a Google's.
Yeah.
It runs the Google's.
It runs the Googs.
Yeah, I got a BlackBerry that's running Android. That's all I gotta say.
I don't know, maybe it's just me, but whenever anybody asks me about like my passport, like I specifically say passport.
The passport was definitely something I did say. I could
It
vouch
helps
for that.
explain the shape a lot more. I would agree.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. Maybe it does come down to like depending upon the device itself, because if people are like shocked about it, or they have like a real general interest in it, maybe that sort of forces the reasoning to actually use the full name of the device so that it kind of like sticks in their brain. But I don't know. Like I say, I generally go out of my way to specifically say BlackBerry Passport.
I was hoping they would have stuck with the passport theme and named it the Visa, which is what I think a lot of people were throwing around, what it might be called. Just to go in line with, you got passport and then a Visa. Kind of got that whole business and traveling kind of vibe going with it.
Yeah.
They did some research.
If you search Google for Priv, then like boom, pops up in the news. You see BlackBerry Priv hands-on, and that one of the top links on Gadget. It's a unique enough name. Whereas I noticed something with the passport. If you literally search Google for passport, by now at least BlackBerry would have some kind of foothold in there. But no, passport is such a common name, and all the image searches are passports. You don't see the phone anywhere. So it is not necessarily so bad just having a unique name, because even Visa, there's a huge company, Visa. It also means so many other things. So
but
I
did that search before they actually had officially announced it as the Priv, and I see exactly where they were going with it, because if you had of Google Priv before they officially announced it, it would have led to a bunch of privacy stuff, especially on Twitter. For some reason, if you actually look on Twitter, and you obviously, again, before the announcement, there's a lot of stuff on Twitter that actually gets cut off. Like you know how when you only have 140 characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
People actually go ahead and their tweets get cut off. There's a lot of privacy-related tweets that actually have the hashtag Priv in it, and they all relate back to privacy. It's like somebody out there got their tweets all cut off, and it seems to happen extremely often, like where it's just hashtag Priv. They don't actually have hashtag privacy in there. It's hashtag Priv for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, and aside from, like I said, if you were to Google it before the news actually broke, it all led to privacy-related things, which, I can see the point on it. It doesn't change my opinion on the name. It's still stupid.
Yeah, if you think about it, as Alex mentioned, it's going to help the SEO, right?
Yeah.
Because it is a pretty unique name. We can give them that. But you got to think about how they position this. And I think I'm doing an article on it and going full. If you look up Priv, which obviously is in privacy, privilege, and a bunch of other words, it comes from the Latin, which talks about separation, right? Being apart, restriction. And really, a lot of that is what is going to be put into this slider device. You know, the restriction and separation of the Android for Work partition on the device. This obviously the security, which separates your personal data from obviously your corporate data. I mean, there's a lot of root meanings that can kind of be attached here, and as well, just the way they position the name as well. Chris, you mentioned that media relations reached out with you and corrected. It is not the BlackBerry Priv. It's the Priv by BlackBerry, and I think.
Weird.
That's such a respectful way to honor a core BlackBerry device like the BlackBerry Passport or the BlackBerry Classic, the BlackBerry
Okay.
Wii. Whereas Priv by BlackBerry can be a separation, and then of course powered by Android. So I think it was a
can we
really
have a-
respectful thing for them to do. It's not the BlackBerry Priv, it's the Priv by BlackBerry.
Can you have a Priv by Samsung?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna buy it, sure. if they're gonna
No, I
sell it, I mean, why not?
I
think it's just important separation there to separate it from this isn't a BlackBerry device.
Mhm.
It's an Android device by BlackBerry, and I think
Okay.
that is the real message that the naming kind of scheme lays out for users.
Am I the only one who finds it weird, the wording, how all the news outlets are like, BlackBerry teams up with Google uh, to announce a Android device, and it's like BlackBerry. I don't know. I don't get the feeling that BlackBerry teamed up with Google. I just feel like they just
There's
Android.
there's too much miswording happening, and nobody's actually seeking to go ahead and correct it, because John Chen specifically said, yeah, we're working with Google on it, because that's how the question came across. And working with Google can mean many, many, many
Yeah.
things.
It
I
could
don't
mean
think
that
John,
you're using Android.
yeah, like even before all of this, even before all the rumors, like they put out press releases saying that they're working with Google. What was it for? It was for Android for Work. Like they're listed as a MDM partner on the Android for Work website. So technically they are working with Google. Anybody can say that they're working with Google. I don't think John Chen is up in Mountain View, California, sitting there with everybody trying to figure out exactly how this Priv device is going to be secure or anything like that. It's just something that, we're working with Google. We're working with Android. There's too much miswording happening, and people are just running with it and not actually, looking to clarify it. It sounds better when you say that you're working with Google.
Yeah, which I think Google, I think Google would be welcome to helping BlackBerry out. Like, say they had a question of like, we're trying to integrate this with the system and we don't know if it's possible. Maybe they can reach out to some Google engineers, and I feel like Google would actually be more prompt to possibly help them, because this phone, being able to have Android on a more secure phone, that does nothing but help Google. So in a way, like, this is obviously a good thing for Google. They're probably willing to help, but like Google probably doesn't know all the source code of how they're securing Android and all this. Like, this is a patent or virtual property of BlackBerry. So it doesn't mean that they partnered up together and they're doing everything together. But I'm
Yeah.
sure Google has a hand out there if BlackBerry needs a little bit of help. They're
Yeah,
probably not
just like
holding
they
their
did-
hand, but
Just like they do for all their approved OEM
Yeah.
partners. Like,
Yep.
they obviously have some contacts and they can reach out, like you said, but, like, again, John Chen is not sitting up in Mountain View at whatever the hell the building is, 44
Alphabet.
or whatever, yeah, and hashing out the terms and relations of how this device is going to run. But they are, technically speaking, working with Google. It's just a play on words, but...
Yeah, I'm working with Google too. I mean,
Yeah.
we're working with Google right now on this hangout. I mean, depending on how you want to call it. It's
Like-
funny.
Yeah.
My mouse just died in the middle of the stream, so I had to like run and get a new battery.
BerryFlow Upstream powered by Android and
Powered by
BlackBerry.
Android and BlackBerry. Yeah, BlackBerry powers the content. Google powers the operation, and really, it's a metaphor for what's going to be coming on this Priv device as well. So, good call on that, Brandon. But overall earnings, they missed across the board, right? They missed
Yeah.
on almost everything. And John Chen still seemed pretty chipper. He's like, yeah, guys, I know. But we have this new stuff coming. Vez 12 seems to be, of course, picking up traction. They're working on integrating good, the ad hoc acquisition as well. we actually got some numbers on the ad hoc acquisition, as John Chen mentioned them in some of his interviews and write-ups, where he spent about $250 million on ad hoc, which is more than I thought they would spend on a company like that for the crisis communication platform.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty interesting to see, and it was funny. He made a quip. Someone questioned him, how much do you expect to make? Like about $50 million a quarter off of this? And he was like, I wish, please, please, yeah, write that up. That'll be good. Which again,
I'm sorry, James. Go ahead.
as they digest these acquisitions, do you guys really think they're going to be able to start putting the numbers in? We have that 500 million number that we're looking at by the end of fiscal year 2016. We're already halfway there.
I just threw in, I just threw in a calculator really quick. So they claim that their revenue for the quarter was 490 million, and they say 15% of that was software and services. So 15% of 490 is 70 multiplied by 4 quarters or whatever. It ends up coming out to about $300 million. So it's a little bit worrisome that they're only sitting at 15% software and services, being a solid 200,000 off, probably more than that. From having the $500 million a year for software. Obviously, the good acquisition, they bought the thing for $500 million, so does anyone know necessarily how much money, because they were in a private company at the time, do we even know how much money they're actually making in revenue per year?
Well, the issue,
They were losing money.
Well, yeah.
The issue, Alex, is that the way the accounting is done, they have a non-GAAP loss, and non-GAAP means non-generally accepted accounting practices, which means non-GAAP takes into account the capital expenditures of buying all these acquisitions. So, for instance, that's going to take into account cash flow going out of the company to purchase these companies, and that's not looking at the background stuff. So, if you look at the GAAP on a per share basis, which gets rid of those capital expenditures and looks at the raw operating costs, the company is actually doing pretty well. It's just that in terms of the accounting, they have to add in these capital expenses to purchase these acquisitions, which isn't a bad thing. It shows that they're actually investing in their company, investing in other opportunities. But in terms of the actual paper, like the paper trail at the end of the quarter, it hits them every quarter. They make an investment like this because they can't hide it on the sheet. They're going to have to spend that money, and it's going to be cash that they have to spend, which means the outcome is going to be they're going to have less revenue when you look at their total expenses.
That's why I didn't expect this quarter to actually show any positive results, because they made 2 acquisitions. They bought ad hoc and they bought good. Like, anybody who is thinking that this would turn up rosy for them this time around was probably not in the right mind, because you can't buy 2 companies without having your bottom line affected in some sort of way, and they have to show those results on the paperwork, like Brandon said.
Won't that be for next quarter though? Like, that's not even.
Yeah, well, that's what John Chen said. Like, Q2 was not that great. Q3 is going to be better, and Q4 is going to be even better than Q3. So that's the expectation that he has set, and I don't necessarily, looking at all the numbers and taking everything under consideration, I don't think he's necessarily wrong with that. But they're still struggling in some areas. Like, they're still trying to make up those system access fees from old BlackBerry OS devices. So that stuff's going to continue to decline. Yeah, and it's something that's haunting. The system access fee has been haunting them ever since they moved into BlackBerry 10, and it really they need to be able to ditch that so that they can actually start turning some real numbers on it. As soon as that is going to haunt them until it entirely disappears. It's going to keep coming up.
It's 43% right now for people wondering.
But also, I'd like to caution people that this quarter's results didn't include the good acquisition. Mm-hmm. It only included ad hoc. So an ad hoc, when you look at it on a cost basis compared to the good acquisition, it's very small compared to the good mobile security acquisition. So next quarter, they're going to be hurt pretty badly in terms of cash flow, simply because they're going to be marketing the Priv likely. So putting out cash on marketing.
Marketing the Priv.
Yeah,
we
right.
hope so.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we
they
hope
have
they
it
will be
yet,
marketing the
so
Priv.
it's gonna be pretty tough next quarter unless they make a lot of money with some and devices.
Blaze and I are going to be marketing the BlackBerry. No, but it's a good point to bring up that they're pushing themselves forward. The engine takes gas, right? And gas is expensive, period, point blank. So to keep fueling their continued turnaround, it's going to take money and it's going to take more time. The question is, will they hit that target that they've set for themselves? And as Alex mentioned, if you look at the numbers pretty closely, there is a little bit of a gap there. So hopefully they can start making up some ground. John Chen also mentioned they're looking at some tuck-in acquisitions to really focus and nail down on some of the IoT and as well as security aspects of the overall platform. So we're not going to see things at the same scope of what we saw with the Good acquisition, but we are going to see other things that help complement BlackBerry's overall strategy. So that's something we do have looking at least forward. As well, BlackBerry 10 users can rejoice. Their BlackBerry 10 is not abandoned. Yay!
I don't know. Define abandoned.
John Chen mentioned 10.3.3 by March, and he also in the earnings call mentioned 10.3.4. So we're looking at least 2 updates coming down the pipe. Now, whether there's something beyond that is really the question. We've been in this kind of maintenance mode for about over 6 months right now. So to say that they're going to extend that a little bit longer is a little bit obvious because we've already been there. And the updates we're going to get are not going to be these substantial updates. They're going to be very much like 10.3.2. They focus on, anti-theft features for privacy, things like adding in the private browsing in the BlackBerry browser as a separate browser instance. Those small things are going to help increase the security of the devices because BlackBerry 10 still holds that competitive advantage over anything secure Android or Priv based, right? And as well, if you think about it a little bit further, John Chen mentioned he's going to work on like NIAP certification for the devices, for all BlackBerry 10 devices. So again, it's going to elevate BlackBerry 10, just not really in a consumer direction. If you are a consumer who's interested in BlackBerry, you're really going to be looking at getting something like the Priv so that you've got access to all your applications. What did John Chen mention? I know you guys probably watched some of the interviews. What did he mention when talking about kind of keeping up with BlackBerry 10 and maybe migrating to Android? Is there a path to make that happen, or is it only going to be based on the success of this Android device?
Well, to put it bluntly, he basically said if Android does well, BlackBerry 10 is done. That's pretty much it. That's the lay of the land. If he can get the regulated industries and governments to be able to go ahead and accept the security on Android, then BlackBerry 10 is pretty much done. So, but like I said, there's still at least 2 updates in the pipe for it.
And a lot of people are saying too that it's like, well, why not just develop BlackBerry 10 in the background? You just need to hire 1 or 2 developers and just it's not that big of a deal. But think of it like you're selling devices. You have to support them. You have to staff support. You have to have security updates promptly pushed out. You have to have carrier relationships for that specific operating system. Like there's a lot to it running and maintaining 2 completely separate operating systems more than just having a couple developers continuing to develop it. It's never just that easy or that black and white.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people seem to think that you can hire 10 people and everything will be fine. That's not really how it works. You need way more people to be able to maintain that situation, and BlackBerry doesn't have that many people to do that at this point. So,
Yeah, if you think about it, they go Android. They really have no skin in the game when it comes to the OS. They don't have to front that whole support for the operating system. They could just be like, you have any problems with Android, just go talk to Google. If you have any problems with how the operating system is functioning on your device, they no longer have to maintain that support staff that go, this is how you use notifications in your Android, or this is how you add email or something. And that'll come down to maybe in the future, they might have a skin in the game depending on how that BlackBerry hub works on the Priv and stuff like that. But as it is on the raw terms, they go Android. There's a whole bunch of weight off their shoulders, so to speak, in terms of supporting that OS.
they're still going to have to support, especially for enterprises. Like, they can't just sell a phone and say, Android, oh, go talk to Google. I don't think you can just call up Google customer support and be like, hey, I have a Samsung Galaxy and, it's running TouchWiz, but I need some help because some weird stuff is going on. They're going to say, no, call up call up Samsung. Like, it's an open source operating system that doesn't mean, hey, if I make something open source, that doesn't mean if everyone uses it, I'm going to free support them. That's not how it works. If it's a problem with like Google Play services specifically or very essential Google products from Google, then that's one thing. But I think BlackBerry's still going to have their own support. No different than having BlackBerry.
They're still going to have their own support for devices and stuff like that.
There's more resources online, though.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is that he doesn't have to generally put any money necessarily into it. Like, he doesn't have to pay for the ecosystem. He doesn't have to pay for any new drivers. Like, that was one key thing that he highlighted in the conversation was, Android is basically like an all-in-one package. He doesn't have to pay for the drivers to be able to go ahead and support Android. He doesn't have to, work out any sort of deals for the ecosystem or anything like that. You just put Android on it, and there you go. There's very little investment on BlackBerry's behalf to actually make that transition in there, and that was one of the things that leads back to why BlackBerry, you're not going to see a BlackBerry 10 slider, unfortunately, is because he would have to lay out the money for the drivers to be able to go ahead and do that. And I know that there are a certain amount of people out there saying, well, just do a small production run. And that's all fine and dandy, but a small production run doesn't equate to the amount of money that would actually be put out to be able to go ahead and do that in the first place. And there's no guarantee that small production run will outsell. You can't just do a small production run in that sort of capacity, especially if they've never actually delved into it to begin with. If they never had any intention of releasing a BlackBerry 10 slider at this point in time, that would be going back in time. They'd have to develop those drivers, develop everything for it, develop all the systems for it, and then do the production run, which would cost them way more money. Like, they, realistically, they laid off all of the people that would be able to go ahead and accomplish this, and that's unfortunate. And it's just the way it is.
That's I think that's the issue that in general the market is having a tough time understanding, especially when you look at crazy valuations for tech companies, is that it doesn't follow the traditional, supply and demand model in terms of, if I have this much demand, I can create and scale my product to only be this many that get produced. When you develop software, you're essentially putting the R&D capital in that software right away, and then it gets duplicated and sent to people. But you can't just say, I want 2 softwares built. Like, it doesn't work like that. You have to put up the upfront costs right away, and then you have economies of scale depending on how many people purchase it and stuff, but it doesn't work quite in the same sense as if you say, I'm going to develop and create like 10 chairs. I create a chair. I can create 5 chairs instead of having to create 500. But you can't say I can create 2 softwares instead of creating 500 softwares. And I think that's, in general, people have a hard time understanding that, not just with BlackBerry, but with Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that. They have these crazy valuations and stuff, even though the revenues don't necessarily match with those valuations, and that's because a lot of people just don't understand how to value software and things like that. So it's a general issue.
Yeah. So, James, your thoughts? Since you've been quiet and you went on a little bit of a mini rant last week.
Trying to stay calm. I'm that guy sitting in the burning room like everything is fine. Here, I don't want to get people's hopes up. I really don't. But there is a potential for them to build the slider device, put in the Passport hardware platform, which already has the drivers built. Obviously, update some of the specs in terms of maybe things like the Adreno, the RAM, but work off the quad-core processor and resell a repackaged Passport more or less as a slider running BlackBerry 10. But again, right now it's just not cost conducive, right? Sell the Android phone. That's your new thing that's worth.
Just
They could
just
do
so
it.
just so that we're clear, basically take the passport guts, put it in a slider, and put BB10 on it.
Yes, exactly. And maybe if you're putting 4 gigs of RAM in there, maybe you're doing a bigger battery, maybe you've got some other modifications, maybe the SE version, if it does come out, is a BlackBerry 10 version, but running on a software platform that BlackBerry's already paid for the drivers and support to be made. Would some fans appreciate it? Definitely. I think some would. But again, is it cost conducive to go make that happen? I think Android really would have to be hit out of the park for them to go and do something like that. And it's kind of regressive at the same point because you have literally a much better spec device with the Android one. So
Yeah, I think that would look pretty frowned upon, especially from a BlackBerry 10 user standpoint. They'd be like, well, why do we get the crappy stuff? Why do we get the 2-year-old stuff, right?
But with that said, right? I mean, how many times did they sell us the Z10? They sold it to us like 8 times, okay? So I mean, for them to say, I mean, that was one of the beauties of the Passport platform, right? It meant that they could build a device like the BlackBerry Leap, putting Passport specs on it because they've got it all built. They've already paid for the drivers. BlackBerry 10 already works on it. But now we have this Android focus, which has really taken precedence over the ability for them to continue to sell us year-old hardware, 2-year-old hardware. So while they could do something to appease those few people who are not going to pick up this device because it's not running BlackBerry 10, again, from a cost perspective, it's really not going to be beneficial for them to sell maybe a couple thousand, to sell maybe even 10,000. It's just there's not enough in it for them, I think, to make it a long-term thing. All those people who would be potential buyers of the BlackBerry 10 version are those same diehard fans who are going to pick up the Android version anyway,
Yeah. Well, I don't know about the diehard fans. A lot of the diehard fans are pretty pissed at this point. So
A lot of the diehard fans are dying.
Specific group of BlackBerry fans are very upset with this decision. But I know I'm probably going to get a Priv. I'll tell you one thing I was joking about before. It'll probably be a lot easier to do these BerryFlow Upstream podcasts on a remote location because then I can just do it from my BlackBerry device. Something that I believe whether we liked it or not, it just wasn't available on our BlackBerry 10 devices, and it's just one thing that'll be easier, and it's going to be my decision on whether I want to get an Android device and risk that it may be slightly less secure than a BlackBerry 10 device. But I mean, that's ultimately my decision, and we'll see if that's what the market decides is what they want from BlackBerry.
yeah, time will tell.
Chris put it to me in such a perfect way. He's like, James, do you want to help BlackBerry push their Android agenda? And it's like, that's a question BlackBerry's about to ask all their customers, right? Do you want to support this Android movement? And Chris did a nice little write-up on some of the kernel niceties that may go on a device like this, using GR security as the base Linux kernel, and working, I guess, some software additives on the top end to help work to secure the overall experience. But it's still not a BlackBerry 10 device, right? It doesn't have the flow, it doesn't have the peak and the different things that we all love about BlackBerry 10, and it still doesn't have the security certifications. Now, maybe there is a point where they're going to be able to get there with these devices that they both are at the same kind of security level, and you either pick one for the productivity experience or you pick one for the app experience. And maybe they're able to replicate an experience that is pretty passable on Android. I mean, I'm interested in the device, but at the same point, I'm gonna hate it when I get it. I know I'm like, yes, I'm gonna get it, but I'm also gonna loathe it because it's not BlackBerry. And I'm the kind of guy who is adverse to change. I really am. If I pick up something, I'm gonna be swiping on it just like Chen. I'm just like Chen in that demo, which was awful. I'm just like Chen. I'm gonna be swiping up on this thing like I swipe up on every device, and it's gonna take me a while to really, really probably appreciate what BlackBerry has done with the Priv. And
I don't know.
Go ahead, Chris.
It's like you said, John Chen. It plans to go ahead and extend as many security enhancements to the Priv as possible. Like. He pretty clearly laid it out. Whether people listened or not, that's entirely up to them. But he laid it out. His attempt is going to be to go ahead and make the most secure. And he basically said that he knows that it's not as secure as what BlackBerry 10 is now, but he's hoping to be able to go ahead and get the Priv, or essentially their own version of Android, up to that par, so that it is accepted in regulated industries and government situations. So, it's going to come down to people and essentially consumers, whether or not they want to go ahead and wait for John Chen to be able to go ahead and extend those security possibilities or not. We always talk about the fact that people generally don't care about security, which is is pretty true. There's so many people who really just don't care about security. They care about it when people are talking about it, but then the next day it's gone. So I think a lot of the people who have a general idea about security may not necessarily pick up the Priv because they know that it's not as secure as what BlackBerry 10 is. But then there's also those people who really just don't care about security that are going to go ahead and pick up the Priv. And, like I said, eventually if John Chen does get those certifications for security in place, then maybe more people will essentially be on board with it at that point in time. So it's kind of a wait-and-see approach for those who are generally interested in actually being secure rather than just, pretending that they care about security.
Rocking in their seats. Yes, I'm secure. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alex, let's cue up the video of John Chen John Chen and the Dolphins. If you watch
doing
football,
a phenomenal
same thing.
job, is what you're
Same
trying
thing.
to say.
Yeah, just doing a great job.
Yeah, and realistically, a lot of people have been talking about it. I really think that Chen has never used this device before, but I think this is also a reason why you shouldn't necessarily let the CEO of a company, be the first. But this is the first technical, public release, and he's using it. And when he's describing it, he says, and as you can see, it has a touchscreen. It's yeah, and it has a camera, and she wanted to slide it open, and he's like, I want to wait for the end. That's normally where I get them, and it was just a very weird way of going about doing it. And yeah, he slides up to try and minimize the app instead of clicking the home button, and it wasn't very smooth. You need a Vivek to be this is the first hands-on, check it out, blah blah blah. Not the CEO, especially someone who doesn't seem like they've used it much.
I don't know. There's a lot of problems with that video, and I don't want to harp on Chen about it because whatever.
The cameraman is making me nauseous, guys.
Yeah.
I can't deal with this cameraman doing these quick pans. It's wow.
It's almost as if he never fully really intended to actually go ahead and show it off, but he got wooed by Amber, and Amber was like, yeah, show me the device, and he was like, okay. So somebody handed him a demo device that obviously clearly wasn't even set up in any sort of capacity because it still has the live screen in the background and whatever. I don't know. Yeah, somebody should have stopped BNN from posting that. That's all.
Donnie swooped in out of nowhere. He's like, I don't work for you guys, but Hootsuite runs super well on the Priv. Yeah, go back to that picture, Alex. The one that Crackberry posted. Super interesting. Chris, talk to us about this image.
So a lot of people have had general concerns about how the screen is actually going to be used, whether or not it's a full dual curve screen like we see on the S6 Edge or whatever. And we've never actually seen any sort of indication of how the actual screen is being used. Now, in the earnings report, or at least in one of the media roundtables or something like that, it did come out that John Chen said that the screen is being built in the exact same factory as the S6 Edge. So that sort of implies that it's pretty much the exact same screen. But again, we never actually saw any sort of use cases scenarios for the Edge on the screen. But we had this one tipped to us, which basically is just like the battery meter. So essentially, when you actually plug in the device and are charging it, the battery meter appears on the side of the edge of the screen. So you can see exactly, how much battery is left in the device and how much it has to go until it's actually fully charged, which is kind of interesting. I mean,
is this going to go up the entire side? 36%. This looks like it might be 36% of it. Do you think it'll go a full 100%?
That's definitely it.
Yeah, from my understanding that is the intention. It will actually just go all the way up.
Man, I can have my phone plugged in, on the corner of my desk, and I could be in my bathroom, like getting ready for the night. Say we're gonna go out, brush my teeth or whatever, and I could glimpse in my room and see this sitting there, and I could get a sense of how charged my phone is from like a distance, actually, which is kind of cool.
You know what's funny, Alex? I thought that you were gonna take the screen ratio of the screen, right?
I was
Measure the
genuinely considering it.
36% and do out the math to tell us more of its dimensions, but that's a little bit redundant, I'd say. Chris, John Chen mentioned it's 5.5 inches. He said it was 5.5 in the VNN video. So is it 5.4? Is it 5.5? Is it 5.6?
Honestly, I don't think anybody actually knows. I think it's like 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, somewhere around there. I honestly really don't know. Does those either point to either way really make much of a difference? I doubt it. If I had to put a guess, I'd say 5.4.
Yeah. They had a nice background going in this demo, at least, though. Had the particles flying around.
No, man, that's like the stock live screen. Get that crap off there.
It was a nice mix-up for a change.
No. That's how you know the device was first booted and never even actually set up.
Yeah, he clicked Chrome. The funny part is he was planning on going into Chrome, going to a website so he can show the scrolling up and down, and he opened up Chrome, and it was like, welcome to your first time in Chrome. Would you like to link an account? And he just kind of like, he froze for a second there, and he's like, then he just started describing, and he's like, so, if you're on a website, you can scroll up and down or typing a message. Like, it kind of threw him off his game. It looked like he literally pulled this thing out right off the shelves. Just, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Let's talk about another death. Oh wait, BlackBerry 10's not dead. Let's talk about another. Let's talk about another sad story. Let's talk about BBM video and whether this is going to exist on this Android phone. I highly doubt it. But what do you guys think? You think this slider device running in the Android version of BBM will somehow have access to BBM video because it's a BlackBerry device? Yeah, I would hope, but I don't think so.
I mean, all it really takes is for them to go ahead and push an update to BBM, and then it's there. I mean, it doesn't take much on the back end to be able to go ahead and add it in, unless there's some sort of unknown problematic symptom that we don't necessarily know about. It's not that they can't do it; it's that they just chose. Yeah, they basically chose not to, at least as far as we know.
It could be fairly expensive, though, to release. Like, I know they don't have. The odd bit is there are more BBM users on Android than there are BlackBerry 10. So like if you went and released this feature to a larger number of people, like that might be fairly expensive bandwidth wise if people do choose to use it. But then again, it might I don't know, we really don't necessarily know how much bandwidth costs, but I don't think it's necessarily like totally cheap if people are doing it.
At this point, I think bandwidth should be the least of their damn concerns.
But if BBM's not making them any money though, do you really want to bleed it dry?
It doesn't matter. You don't offer somebody something. You don't take away something that somebody already has. You know what I mean? Like, if you got a feature and it works, bandwidth should be the least of your damn concerns. You have a whole network. You have a whole network of operational servers that people are working on, and if you actually want BBM to succeed and turn around some money, then obviously you go ahead and you put the damn feature in. It's really not that complicated.
Yeah.
Again, unless there's something within Android that I don't know about that is affecting it from being implemented, maybe. I don't think so, but I'm just saying, like, just put it in there.
Yeah. You bring up a good point because like people who move from BlackBerry 10 to Android, essentially they are being stripped away of a feature. So if you say you use it frequently, say that you have a kid and you like to FaceTime, is a chance to get to see him or just whatever. Just being stripped away from that might be a reason. I guess you could always use like Hangouts.
Kind of like how I lost Bridge when I got my BlackBerry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Kind of like how I lost BlackBerry Protect when I got my BlackBerry 10 device and couldn't do wireless backups. Kind of like, I don't know, what else?
Let's not go down that road,
Yeah,
Brandon.
it is. It's
What,
a very
what Brandon's
rough
trying
road.
to say is that there is precedent for them removing features.
Yeah, this is a historical thing that happens every couple of months. We lose something, maybe not months, but I want to transition to the latter end of our cast here and speak on some of the questions and topic suggestions from our Patreon supporters on our private BBM channel for BB Upstream. So this is the best way to get us to speak about your different topics and things like that on air. These guys are awesome, so we're going to answer some of their questions. This one's from Joe. If there is a BlackBerry 10 version of the Priv, how could BlackBerry 10 take advantage of the curved screen? So again, we've already talked that it's probably not likely, but if they were to bring it over, how would you guys see them adapting BlackBerry 10 to the curved screen of the S6 Edge's, dual curve?
I really don't think it necessarily matters if it's BB10 or if it's Android. Like, they can do cool stuff regardless of the operating system. I guess, like, that picture we saw of the charging on the side, that could be on BlackBerry 10 too. Why does it matter? It's not an Android exclusive. I guess, to open up our eyes a little bit more, is this what Chen was talking about when he's talking about the incredible things about the dual edge screens, or are we going to see some other good ideas? I don't know. I guess you could just throw out like a lot of what Galaxy is doing with their edges, but I personally, at least, am not a big fan of just having like quick apps, or I don't know. Somebody else might have a better idea.
I honestly just want them to steal it, whatever the hell Samsung is actually doing. You know what I mean? Like, if all of those apps that exist that work on the Samsung S6 Edge screen, all of those ones, because what Samsung did was they basically put out a developer kit for people to be able to go ahead and tap into the Edge screen, right? So all of those applications already exist. So why can't, aside from the obvious, like, I don't know, copyright infringement or stealing of resources, whatever you want to label it, factor there, why can't all of those apps essentially just go ahead and utilize the exact same thing?
Definitely. I would say if they were to do something on the BlackBerry 10 side of things, I mean, we have these overflow menus on BlackBerry 10, so those little icons, they could dock those on the curve and make them kind of accessible. The same thing is available here in BlackBerry Hub with the accounts. They could dock just the icon, not the text.
Yeah.
So like this, and put that banner permanently on the curve so that you have the kind of the full hub experience on the main screen, and then on the curve you've got that quick access to your different accounts. Now, that's if they were to use a BlackBerry 10. That's very likely not going to happen. But what could happen on the BlackBerry Android version of this device is we saw that there was a massive shortcuts menu where there were different icons that would send you to specific tasks on the device. Imagine then if those icons could be accessed with a quick swipe on the edge of the screen, so it's like a customizable kind of edge, similar to what Samsung does, but again, focused in on BlackBerry's own productivity shortcuts and things like that. That could be pretty cool to do on the device. We have another kind of comment here from one of our Patreons, Mike Robinson, and I just like this comment. It's not a question, but we could kind of talk on it a little bit. I don't want an Android phone, but there's no denying that it looks pretty awesome. I imagine if it sells well, they may launch a BB10 model. However, I don't reckon they'll want to confuse the market of Android fans by offering an alternative at first. I'm just hoping it's a massive hit. And, I can really agree with that latter part right there. I really just hope it's a hit. Like, I'm not even thinking about a BlackBerry 10 version right now. I just want this one device to be successful.
Yeah.
We have another question here, and I really want you guys to speak on this one. This one's from Rob over on our private BBM channel. Whatever happened to the BlackBerry Keenan? Is that the silver passport?
It sure as hell seems to be.
I would say if there's anything close to it, that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that? I wish they did a little bit more follow-through, right? Or explanation as to what went down. It's one of those things.
I could probably actually dig a little bit more into that one, but.
All right, guys, Blaze is on a mission now. So, are we likely to see similar OS update rollout method for BlackBerry's Android as BB10, or do you guys expect some kind of a Nexus-style rollout? And that was from Sam over in Australia. Do you guys expect BlackBerry to kind of stick to their own broken update schedule, or are they going to stay more in line with what Google's doing?
I think they'll be
Good
pushed
question.
a little bit, obviously by Google, because there are little scenarios like, um, I guess that are coming with Marshmallow, like Android Pay, and which I think you can use it backdated. I'm not sure, but I think they'll be pushed a little bit to implement certain features, more so than just holding off on them. But then again, we don't really know yet how difficult is it going to be for them to put their, security over Marshmallow, for instance, and then how quickly can they get it out? Again, it's going to be something that we've never seen with BlackBerry before, so it'll be interesting to see. I think it's tough to even guess that. It's something that we're
Yes.
really just going to have to see.
I
Probably
kinda,
not Nexus style.
I,
Probably
Yeah,
BlackBerry
not
style.
Nexus, not
No.
Nexus style, but hopefully they keep up to date a little bit better than what they did with BlackBerry 10, because the rollouts with BlackBerry 10 were, they were pretty damn confusing at times, with
Yeah.
certain regions getting certain variations and then other regions getting other variations, and long spans in between. So hopefully with the move to Android there will be a little bit more consistency, but I don't believe that they can go full Nexus style because of the fact that they don't really control that portion of it. So
I don't think it's going to be Nexus style because they'll probably have to vet the OS for any security flaws from
yeah,
the tail end just to make sure. Because if they put an OS on their devices, that's telling their customers that this is a device, this is an OS that we've looked at, and it's secure, and we have our seal of approval on it. So I actually think it might take longer than typical to get OS updates, just because they have to, you know, dot their I's, cross their T's, and make sure everything is secure. There's no loopholes in the OS.
As long as there's one a year and it's scheduled, you tell me the date and it launches on that date, I'll be happy. We have another question here from Tim Grant. He says, I'm just thinking that if I move to Priv, my speed of thought would have to slow down to that of Android. Watching Chen try to swipe a Priv and realize Android is too dumb to gesture, move, and share like BlackBerry sticks in my head. So his question is, do you guys think we're going to be able to have the same kind of instant notifications that a lot of people are familiar with?
I don't know. I guess it comes down to what kind of instant notifications. Because if I have a Moto G here sitting next to my passport, and it gets the same notifications at pretty much the exact same time. Sometimes it even comes in quicker. So I don't know. It's kind of like one of those things. When it comes down to notifications, I don't really notice too many differences between the two, depending on how your device is actually set up. Um, I do believe, though, that maybe some BlackBerry 10 users are probably not going to feel as accomplished using Android because of the fact that it does seem to be a little bit slower in terms of like navigating. I mean, you can say whatever the hell you want about BlackBerry 10, but you know, moving around that OS is quick. Like, you can fly through screens, you can get to where you need to go almost instantaneously. And I said on the last BerryFlow that I didn't even genuinely really like Android because some of those things that were implemented on Android and this little slowness that you do experience. Now, granted, Android has gotten much better over the years in terms of the speed of the operating system and stuff like that, but I don't know. It's still one of those things where you probably are going to find yourself a little bit slower using Android than what you are on BlackBerry 10, because, again, say whatever you want about the apps, the ecosystem, say whatever you want about BlackBerry, but BlackBerry 10 just flies when you're moving through the operating system itself.
Definitely
Yeah,
does.
and
Mark,
BlackBerry is the yeah,
yeah, go ahead, Mark.
BlackBerry is literally what they're trying to do is make Android more productive. So, I mean, yes, like if BlackBerry does their job right, then we should feel equally productive on
Yeah,
Android.
that's the other side of the equation as well. What is BlackBerry doing to Android to increase the productivity? Hopefully, they'll take some of that feeling away from you, and you won't feel like you have to, slow yourself down or dumb yourself down to the Android system. But, at this point in time, we don't know. And to be fair, I don't think that anybody should go by what was previewed by John Chen in his hands-on demo. I don't think that was any sort of indication as to what the system is capable of, or that specific device is capable of. Because again, that looks like it was just booted up and started from nothing. Yeah. And if he thought that he could swipe on it, then that's a clear indication that he wasn't using the device right anyway. So.
Absolutely.
Whatever.
It's a clear indication that his version is a BlackBerry 10. I'm just kidding. It's not. This is the comment that follows up from Mark Robinson. One of my favorite features of BlackBerry 10 is when a message comes in, I can read and reply to it without interrupting what I'm doing. Watching the Upstream webcast, for example, during my commute to work. Again, one of those awesome things that I've been at a wedding, right? And I was able to hold my camera up while recording like the wedding dance and whatnot, like the spouse's first dance, and I'm actually like texting the whole time I'm recording this video through the instant notifications. So I'm having conversations while I'm multitasking and actually recording a video in 1080p. That's the kind of stuff I really do love BlackBerry 10 for, and hopefully we can get a semblance of that on this Android device. Anyway, if you want to ask us questions for our next podcast, please visit us at berryflow.com/Patreon. We've got a bunch of pledge tiers there. You get weekly newsletters and a bunch of other goodies, and again, access to our private VVM channel. I want to thank everyone for their contributions on this particular episode, and we will see you guys next week. Hopefully we'll have some more news about the Priv. You know what? Before we close out here, guys, please check BlackBerry.com and tell me whether or not you like those advertisements or not for the Priv. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that's strong marketing coming from BlackBerry?
Why'd you have to bring that up, James?
Because I think BlackBerry really needs to hear what the feedback is on that. One, the font is crap. I don't know what kind of font they're using there. It's like a Myriad Pro or some kind of like Trojan Pro. It's pretty awful. This image is like you have this device exists, you have it in the real, it's already in the market. Like why would you do a render of it, I just
You know what though? You know what it shows? It shows that they're actually putting the co-op students at BlackBerry to work by again do these graphic designs,
But dude, they could have tossed Marco like $100 and he would have did a better job. You know what I'm saying? Come on. I don't know.
Anything. I mean, even like you have this as a real device, like go ahead and just why not? It doesn't make any sense. You've got like, especially like the silver edition, right? Like you could have done a real lifestyle scene and gotten it in there. Alex is making fun of me here in the chat. That's why I'm laughing.
I'll gladly give them credit for actually going ahead and updating the website though, because like as soon as that news comes out, that should be the #1 spot where they are directing people to be able to go ahead and find out a little bit more information. So kudos to actually having something up there and something ready. Thumbs down on the it not looking very appealing at this point in time. Like, where is the device? Like, I feel as though that they made this announcement, but they still haven't even put out any official renders or anything like that. Like, I love Evan because he gave us a render of the device that BlackBerry has essentially announced, but we still have to use that render because none of the official pictures are actually out there. Like, they have one picture which is kind of blurry that just says Smart Slide on it, and it's the guy sliding up the slider. Like, at least toss up a real picture of the device to get people, like, somewhat interested in it. Like, there's nothing to even go by on these images. All we have is a little black block that says Priv, and it looks like it was made in a PowerPoint presentation. Like, come on. Like,
it really is.
Like, come on. Like, oh.
And then like this one for Smart Slide, it's like, is that a feature? Is that just you just trying to be clever? Like, it's so vague.
Yeah, what's smart about it, I guess.
Is that what you're calling it?
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that basically the Smart Slide feature, this is obviously they took the time to go ahead and highlight it. You know what they're going to basically do? At least in my head, they're going to basically say, like, when you slide it up, it knows that you slid up the screen, and then when you slide it down, it knows that you slid the screen down. So you can use the on-screen keyboard, or when it's slid upward, it knows that you automatically have slid the screen up and that you can use the actual physical keyboard versus the on-screen keyboard. That's smart slide.
That image is kind of misleading because if you look at it, it looks like you can see the keys under the screen, like transparently.
Yeah, it's just them trying to do, it was probably quickly done. And how else do you show a sliding movement? And Chris, like maybe you open up an email and it just automatically shoots open. It's smart. It knows that you want to. That would be great.
I don't know.
That's so Visa.
I don't know, but apparently, like, obviously we know that at least John Chen and let's say the whole company was kind of surprised by all of the leaks. I don't know whether or not they actually were surprised by the leaks. They shouldn't really have been surprised by the leaks. If it was my company and I saw all these leaks happening weeks ago, I would have had some marketing material ready by now. But it does seem as though that they were kind of like, oh crap, the Priv name leaks, so let's go ahead and get something up there. And hopefully they'll improve upon the marketing and some of the artwork and stuff like that.
Definitely.
It's weird because we still have yet to see like a totally legitimate version of the hub and all these things kind of in
That's
action.
what I'm saying,
We've
man.
seen so many leaks that it's like either one of two things: the hub is not done, or BlackBerry is somehow releasing these leaks. Yet they're not creating marketing material because these people who are reviewing it, they purposely say, look how great, look, there's a hub there, but I'm not going to click it. So
even John Chen didn't click on the hub or nothing.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
That would have been the one thing to do. But let me go to Google Chrome instead to make my point.
Right? Look, it's got a web browser. Yay! Come on.
It does all the things the cool smartphones are doing these days. It's got a browser.
I would just be happy if they would stick up a real picture of the device. Honestly, like if they were like use the same marketing that they have on the website now, just stick a real picture of the device beside it as well. Like, come on, don't give me this ominous block of blackness that doesn't even indicate anything. I'm like, what the hell is this? Come on.
I'm hoping it ramps up and they do have a lot that's kind of in the pocket yet to be released because this device is it. This is it. This is the device. If any device of BlackBerry's over the last 2 years needed to be successful, it was the Z10 that's what happened, and then this device. So hopefully they've got a new wind behind them, and this device really can go forward and sell.
Well,
We've seen a lot of good things so far.
That's what we were basically discussing earlier, James. It's like they have to nail this device. They have to, like, and we've discussed it several times. Like even before all the actual real information came out, like they have to nail this. If they don't nail it, like if there's one single possible thing that is off on this device and they end up getting crucified for it, that's it. Like it's down the toilet. Like They have to nail the pricing. They have to nail the hardware. They have to nail the operating system so that it's not, it's not too overbearing or anything like that. They just have to nail everything. They have to make people want this device. And I don't know. I kind of joked with you the other night, like BlackBerry had to do one single thing that would screw up this device, and I was like, well, I guess we found it with the Priv name.
Priv. I really hope it comes in with some smart pricing. The pricing I've heard is $5.99, $6.99 US, Canada. However, if they were to undercut that even by $50, it's going to hurt your margin for the long-term run of the device. So as it's in market, you're able to reduce it less because you started at a lower price.
Yeah.
But if they got real smart with this pricing and it's like right on that edge of affordable and kind of expensive, I think it may sway someone from going to a device that's more expensive, like the S6 Edge, which is a very premium device for pricing concerns, and be able to kind of keep their margin of obviously revenue and profit on the device, but still make it enticing for those potential people who do want to make the jump to it.
I said it on the forums, and I'll say it again. Anything over $700, and they blew it. That's like nobody will look at it. Like
does $6.99 count as blowing it in Canada?
No, $6.99 Canadian is like my highest price point. And when I say I have a really bad habit of actually just thinking about things in Canadian, not thinking about things in US. But like $6.99 Canadian, whatever the hell the conversion rate is on that, I don't know these days. But if it's over $6.99 Canadian, they're done. Just
everything's
don't
so
even bother.
expensive now. The dollar's like killing us. I can't buy anything anymore.
Yeah, it'd be $524 if it was $700 in Canadian.
Man. And
So,
you know it's gonna be
if-
like $5.99, $6.99.
Yeah,
I almost can guarantee.
That's the thing. That's the thing. I would
Yeah,
give
so it'll
them.
be $800 Canadian.
I would give them $5.99 American and $6.99 Canadian. If they don't hit those two price points, then don't even bother. Like, just don't.
Well,
I'ma
you say
buy it, though.
$5.99 American, but that's
Yeah.
800 Canadian.
Yeah, I'm just making up the difference, price per
Yeah.
market. You know how John Chen likes his price per market quote because.
Okay.
Whatever. But
Gotcha.
if it comes at $6.99 Canadian or $5.99 US, that's perfect. If they go anything beyond that, then just don't. Like.
But then look at the look at what Apple's doing with their iPhones and their subscription service. I mean,
I would love a subscription
Yeah.
service.
I mean, you could basically get a brand new iPhone every year for over $350
Yeah.
American.
Which it's funny because they're trying to hide the price. Like, this is finally the year that they totally be like, new iPhone starting at $699, but now they're saying new iPhone starting at $200. And it's kind of like, it probably helps people, it helps get people's foot in the door thinking, oh, only $200 and you get the new iPhone.
Yeah, it's
so-
kind of like Subway when I went to Subway today. No, seriously, bro. Seriously.
Yeah, oh, he's sure going. That's a good point.
I went to Subway today,
Good point.
and I went to order a sub, and the guy didn't tell me that they didn't have either turkey or ham, but he had me in the lineup already. He had my bread cut, and he had like my condiments on the bread, so I couldn't say no. I wasn't gonna be like, no, I don't want it now because he ain't got no turkey and no ham. I just ended up getting a crappy sub that I didn't even really enjoy because he already had me in the lineup and he already had me in the store. So I was like, screw it, let's just roll with it. So
John
great
Chen,
comparison,
you
man.
can learn from this Subway line man.
Oh, I think we're going on too long, man.
It's true though because you get people in the door. You
Hey,
can
we're
get
at the
an
Apple
iPhone for
Store.
$200.
Hey,
Well,
That's the Android runtime on BlackBerry 10. It runs Android. And then you do it. It's like, oh crap, it doesn't run Android. But I'm really excited to see what the Priv can do for BlackBerry. I know I'm a diehard fan. I love BlackBerry 10. I mean, and John Chen said it itself. If I could get all the apps on BlackBerry 10, it'd be a smashing success. And we all agree with that. But we live in a real world, and that's not how it is, There's too many costs and financial and legal battles that BlackBerry would have to beat to be able to make that happen. Right now, John Chen said it. I'll echo it here. This is the best they can do. It really is. Now, the question is it good enough for the market? And that's what we'll discuss likely on our next podcast. So we'll cut it off here. Please get at us on Patreon. Ask us some questions. We are happy to discuss them here at the end of our cast. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you for watching.
take care, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Brandon's on mute, but he's waving.